fuck you, Ron. It's called Drunk Review. That is what you came here for. That is why we have an uptick in YouTube subscribers.
This is what
you
we do.
You knew what you were signing on for.
This is what we do.
So
we drink and talk
we
about things.
drink and know things. So we don't know it.
We make some stuff as we go along.
We are in Loki Part 2. Not focus. Not yet. Not yet. So I'm going to... Oh, keep drinking. Just keep drinking. So...
Drink.
Okay.
Just keep drinking. For me... Hi, baby. I love you.
Like a star.
So cute. So cute.
Done with me.
He's like, I don't want a podcast anymore.
I don't want to be on the podcast anymore. One of the things that I love... There are so many things I love about this show. But one of the things that I love, and which we talked about like in between when we decided we should probably eat in between.
I missed the memo about eating.
You should have eaten something. We'll eat on the next break. I'll make sure you eat this time. Eat and drink water. Is that this show addressed one of my biggest gripes about the Dark World and about Ragnarok, which is for the Dark World, how in the hell is Odin supposedly king of the realms, supposedly the all-father, all-knowing, whatever the fuck?
He's everything.
Right. How did he not interrogate Loki about what happened when he freaking tried to commit suicide off the Bifrost? And find out how he survived, because everybody thought he was dead, and who he was with. Even if you assume that he volunteered to Thanos, he did not. But even if you assume he volunteered to Thanos, wouldn't you want to find out what happened in that 2.5 year span and he disappeared into the ether and then showed up on Earth talking about the god of chaos, talking about that free will was the great lie?
That he was going to be their king.
Yeah, something that he has always stated and made very clear he never actually wanted. He never wanted to be king. So that was my first thing. And then in Ragnarok, that Loki wasn't preparing the realms. Like, clearly he would have made a good king because everybody on Asgard was fat and happy on Asgard. Can we all agree in Ragnarok? Okay. Everybody seemed having a great time.
Except Matt Damon was there and that was
gross.
That never makes anything good. Sorry.
Matt Damon. Hate his ass. But anyway, it's so I can't get distracted because my hatred for him will throw this whole thing off.
We'll go on to another tangent.
I will
continue with this tangent.
Right?
We should have a
hate podcast. But anyway, the fact that everybody seems so happy, well fed, well taken care of on Asgard when he was king, better than they looked in the Dark World, because I gotta say, those people looked freaking miserable in the Dark World. That was before freaking died. Yeah. So clearly he would have been a good king, but why wasn't he preparing other realms for Thanos, knowing Thanos was coming?
That makes
literally the only two people who knew Thanos were coming were Loki and Tony. So you can't tell me that Loki wouldn't have done that. And we address it in the final episode. Loki literally got his heart shit on. Not literally. I hate when people do that. Not literally, but figuratively, got his heart shit on and destroyed, and still sucked it up. And what was the first thing he did?
He said,
try to rally everybody to prepare for Kang. So this show really addressed that and the power incontinence in the MCU that I hate so much, you guys. So it bothers me so much that Loki, and to a lesser extent Wanda, who's not one of my favorite characters, but I hate the fact that she doesn't have the power set that she has in the film, in the comics. This show fucking addressed the fact that Loki is way more powerful than any other character we've ever seen on screen. Allie, go, because you look like you got something.
So as far as giving people power in the MCU, they have barely touched on it.
Not even a little bit.
There was a hilarious blogger earlier today who was like, Thanos, it was the most powerful in all of Marvel. And I was like, oh honey,
no, Thanos is so far down down a list of
That's so
powerful beings.
But this is what also the MCU has put that standard to be, is that you think that, and they touched in on a little bit with Captain Marvel being like, wait a minute, no, I can handle you. And of course, I know, I'm sorry, Wanda could handle him as well.
Easily. He was, even Kevin Feige said, if he had not called down his army to bombard and kill his own people, she would have
killed him.
Would, like, in a split.
Literally, the only two people who should have been able to kill Thanos were Wanda and Loki.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. But we'll get into that with the writing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I don't know. I have obviously not read every single comic book that's ever crossed my way.
I don't know. You have a big ass room filled with alphabetized comic books, so I don't know if that's true.
I'm always excited about parallel universes coming in and time travel, because in this film and the films and the television shows, etc., they can do so much. I mean, we could have a Kangaroo Kang coming in at some point, and you wouldn't like.
It wouldn't be that big of a deal.
It would get me excited because I'm like, hey, that's really fun, and certain fans would love it, and other people would be like, I don't know. But ultimately, they have so much room that I feel like they don't know what to do with them.
I actually think that they do. I think that this show allows them to now not have to keep the Marvel formula.
So with the shows, yes, definitely. The movies have, because it's restricted, you only get 2 hours, possibly 5.
That's a good point.
With television shows, you can totally flesh it out more, bring in more characters.
That is a good point.
So the fact that they are on Disney, yes, I'm happy about them. And I can sit in my home and watch all of these fabulous stories unfold. Bringing out a different villain for the Avengers.
Yeah.
This particular one can bring in some possible other tips.
We were gonna mutants and a certain doctor.
A
certain doctor. Because I was like, there's like a 30% chance that this is going to be this motherfucker.
So,
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's exponentially just, it, dare I say, makes me geek out, and I get really excited.
Right?
On my couch.
Yes!
Like, my mind is like, oh,
yes!
This could be a thing.
My brain!
This could be a thing. And I'm like, well, now that this is happening, and I'm like, oh, is this why all these Peter Parkers are showing up? And I'm like, we haven't even.
Oh my god! I forgot to tell you guys before we even did this. Both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield was supposed to be in Multiverse of Madness. Yes! Not just in Spider-Man Far From Home, but in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh,
and the Hollywood Reporter just confirmed that Tom Hiddleston will be in Multiverse of Madness. And I was like, this is the worst kept secret ever. This is like Oscar Isaac being Moon Knight. We all do!
Like there's a certain Peter Parker that let it out.
Yeah, basically. Oh, good Lord, that child cannot keep a secret to save his life. Okay, so, Mary, thoughts?
I forgot what the original question was.
See, that's what happened to me, because it's like all this talking, and then, wait a minute, what was the actual point we were trying to get to?
What was the original question?
What of the writing did you like for this show that addressed, because I feel like this show stopped up a lot of plot holes for the MCU overall.
Yes.
Maybe it's just me. This show, more than any of the other shows, really did a good job of fixing a lot of the plot holes. What was something that stood out for you?
Well, and we talked about this on the break. I really like that the show addressed the fact that it doesn't matter what universe it is. Loki will always be inextricably tied to Thor and vice versa. They need each other. They're two sides of the same coin. And I love that with future Loki, he was like, well, how did you get caught? He's like, I just missed my brother. I wanted to see my brother. I missed him.
That broke my heart.
That was so sad. But I love that. And it's true for the comics as well.
Yeah.
They're brothers.
I mean,
you can hate it, but they're brothers, and at the end of the day, they're always going to be tied to one another.
That's literally the arc of the most recent Thor comics before Thor and Loki Double Trouble was Thor lost his shit because Loki was killed. And Thor became the monster at the end of the book. And he went crazy. And our current Loki, Loki 4, was like, oh shit, Loki 4 ended up becoming the All-Father. Because Thor went insane and started killing everything and everyone who he felt was responsible for his brother's death. So,
Which
I could actually see that happening in
Ragnarok.
the
That makes sense.
Yeah,
always because it's like Loki is like the artistic, like edgy kid, and Thor
He's
is
the
like
intellectual.
the football star that had too many concussions.
They're the brains in the
There's a
brawn.
chance
Together,
are that the dude with the concussions and the footballs do the bad murder things, and the artsy kid is going to be like, I have a new finger painting for you.
they're the
Maybe why I've never
the
dated a
brains in the
football star.
brawn.
More of art.
They have to be together to work.
Sorry, I know.
That's great. So, speaking to that, what is going to be very interesting for me going forward is how, because we know this Loki is going to wind up in main continuity.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree. We know that this Loki is going to somehow end up in the current continuity. How are specifically Thor, Sif, Bruce, and Valkyrie? I think Bruce and Valkyrie are going to just be like, hey, awesome. Like, I feel like he's going to get along best with Bruce and Valkyrie, and maybe this is because I am one of many. I am one of 4 children. And I have a very large family. That's not even counting step siblings. I'm just one of 4 biological siblings. But when you don't have that scapegoat person, this Loki is not the Loki that they knew. Sif's entire personality in the MCU was built around making sure Loki knew his place and never upstaged Thor, and her jealousy of anybody who caught Thor's attention, whether it be Loki or Jane or anyone.
Which was so ridiculous. I hated it.
Yes, I don't get me started because it's real gross. I don't have time. I don't have time to get into how much I hate
Jane.
the way that, not Jane, I love Jane.
I hate
but
the
how much I
actress
hate
that plays Jane.
Yes, I like.
She needs to go away.
But she's such a good actress.
No.
Don't get her started.
Don't calm down. Focus.
Another
Right, look at
copycat.
Look at me. Drink and look at me. So, I just noticed your TARDIS necklace. It's so
Fuck
cute.
Padme.
Okay. So anyway, I'm trying to distract her, y'all. So anyway, when your entire personality is either built around I'm going to make sure that you know, like literally there was a whole portion of episode 3 or 4, where Sif was basically to make sure Loki knew his place. You will always be alone. You will always be alone, and you deserve to be alone. When your whole personality is built around trying to please the blonde hunk, being jealous of anybody who catches his attention, and making sure his little brother knows his place. And we know that Jamie Alexander is confirmed for Thor, Love and Thunder. Or Thor always had a scapegoat. No matter what he did, he always had Loki to blame. Even in Ragnarok. Yet he makes that whole speech to Loki about how Loki's predictable, but at the same time, I'm like, bitch, you haven't changed from the first fucking movie. You still go and hit things and never talk first and ask a question. You choked. I will never forgive him for choking Tony in Age of Ultron. I will never forgive that shit. Not fucking
Nobody touches
ever.
Tony.
You don't touch Tony Stark.
Tony.
In my continuity, you touch Tony Stark, you fucking die. And I'm like,
And
I will never let that shit go.
It should have been Cap.
I will never let that shit go. And poor Ron. And so moving on. Like everybody on this podcast is fucking real heated.
And emotional.
Take it down.
Do not touch Tony.
We gotta take it down. We gotta
Do
take
not
it down.
touch Tony. I love him 3000.
Oh, look what you did.
Sorry. I didn't mean to.
Anyway, so said all that to say, what kills me is Thor's character journey in the Dark World, Thor's character journey in Ragnarok, Thor's character journey in Thor. Thor's character journey in the Avengers is the same shit over and over and over again. For somebody who kept saying that Loki was stuck in the loop, you have to keep learning the same lesson over and over and over again. So it's going to be very interesting to me to see Thor react to a Loki who doesn't give a shit, who loves him intellectually.
But I don't want your approval.
But I don't want, more importantly, nor need your approval. I have friends. I have a found family who accept me fully for who the fuck I am.
I'm not the designated.
They know that I'm the god of mischief. They know that I lie. They know that I backstab.
Mobius and B love him for who he is. B-15 and Mobius love him for who he is. Sylvie, Loki, Kid Loki, Crocky, Ally Loki, all love him for who he is. So, how is Thor going to react to that? Thoughts?
And Avengers, when he slaps that mouthpiece on him and tells him to shut up.
Yep.
He can see the memories. He can see the friendship they built, but it's not the same as living it.
Yeah.
But I think that this Loki has grown enough through his found family and his experiences, and with the trouble he knows is coming, he can kind of put that aside and be like, we can deal with our shit later.
Yeah.
You need to trust me when I tell you something bad is coming.
Yeah.
And I think Thor will just be so happy to have his brother back. He might not even care that there's fucking trouble coming. He'll just be like, brother.
I can see that. I can honestly see him being the thing about Thor, and this is 10% the writing, because it's not the writing in the MCU is so inconsistent. The only characters who consistently had their character growth go from movie to movie are Tony and Loki, which is one of the reasons why they're fan favorites. And in all honesty, is because their character growth from film to film has been consistent from film to film. 90% Chris Hemsworth, because he doesn't get enough credit for how good of an actor he actually is.
He's a pretty blonde boy,
and so he doesn't get credit, especially next to Tom.
He has,
and not that we don't love Tom, because I think everybody on this podcast loves fucking Tom. But let's be honest, Chris doesn't get, when Tom's in a room, he overshadows everyone. So it's hard to give Chris his flowers, and we should. The reason that Thor is even remotely likable, because it's not the fucking writing.
No.
It's Chris. It's Chris Hemsworth, hands down. Chris Hemsworth is a G. And the only reason that Thor is likable is because of Chris. Yeah. Now, as Ron pointed out, even in the Simonson comics, Thor's a dick, which people forget.
Yeah.
People do forget that Thor's an asshole. He was not great when Sam became Captain America. He was kind of a dick about Sam being Captain America. And so people forget that shit. And I'm like, no, that happened. He was a big old piece of shit to Sam when Sam became Cap. So, yeah, like, if you don't read the comics, I'm like, this is actually on brand.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see the fallout.
Universe.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the fallout. I'm also interested for Doctor Strange. Oh, the headache that between Wanda and Sylvie.
Yeah, he has a lot coming for him, but I like
Doctor Strange is going to need a vacation.
He foresees it coming, though.
He's like, I took a nap. Vacation.
And all of a sudden, reality and time were broken. What the fuck did y'all do?
There's a lot happening.
Oh, I did like how they connected that to WandaVision. I didn't think about that until I rewatched the finale. I was like, oh shit, the multiverses, the branches are happening. That's how she was here.
Why she heard her children. I didn't notice it either until I watched it like the third time, and I'm like, oh, that's why she heard her kids.
They're not dumb. Yeah. They're tying everything together.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is gonna need such a vacation.
Doctor Strange and seeing the Cumberbatch batching it up. He's another actor that I did not think that could carry a Marvel character, but he is doing. I still
stand by my original casting, which was Alexander Siddig.
Yes.
I still think he would have been a better Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I do appreciate what Benedict Cumberbatch brings to the role.
Sorry, Vera.
But I think I still to this day think and that's the thing and to going back to an earlier point in a previous post, the only people who I cannot see someone else in the parts are Tony and Loki.
Yeah.
I could cast other people in every other person's part.
Oh yeah.
Definitely not Tony.
But Tony and Loki.
Well, that's like.
But that's the actors.
That's like trying to recast Wolverine right now.
Although I have somebody in mind for Wolverine.
It's a whole other discussion.
It's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other, not universe. Anymore.
But then again, because of what have the events of this show and the way the writing tied up plot holes, because now we know why Doctor Strange only saw one variable for where they went, because he saw the TVA showing up and erasing everything that they did. Because I'm like, you mean to tell me that we didn't have a variable where everybody just grabbed Tony? And
that was my thing. Like what Quill did in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Why didn't they all just like laugh?
Why did they establish that in Guardians of the Galaxy if it wouldn't have worked in Endgame? But if the TVA shows up 5 minutes later and erases everything you did, that makes sense.
We also just don't trust Chris Pratt for anything.
No, he's the worst, Chris.
Yeah, no, we don't.
I
wrote that for you, Allie.
He is
Sorry.
the worst.
No,
Chris.
it's fine. I appreciate that. I knew I didn't like him, but now I know I really don't like him.
He's the worst.
So it's fine. Him and Jeremy Renner can go like skip away and go bye-bye.
God, don't get me started on Jeremy.
I mean, that's a whole nother, again.
That is a whole nother
podcast of people we do not like and hate.
That's a whole different podcast. Because I love Hawkeye, but like MC Hawkeye.
Some sort of way. He feels a certain type of way about Loki. And like, because Ravonna's like, why do you trust him? And I'm like, because he's got a crush. I actually really hope we see that play out in some way. So, and that's, like I said, when we were offline, I'm getting very Farscape is something that a lot of people haven't seen, but has influenced the MCU so much. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. I know, Mary, you've seen a little bit of Farscape, right?
Yeah, forever ago. It's
all of the episodes are on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it. And I own them. So if you want to watch it all the way through the movie, you can.
We're going to Belle's house and we're watching all the things.
We're going to get crabs soon. So if you want to come over, we can do a movie marathon. I have no problem doing that. Look at my husband, my poor husband.
He's instantly regretting this.
Okay.
Poor Ron.
My poor husband. Yes, exactly. Poor Ron. So Farscape has literally James Gunn straight up said that Guardians of the Galaxy was directly influenced by Farscape. The way the characters were written, the way the character dynamics was directly influenced by Farscape. So and you can see it. I am getting a very Farscape into season 1, into season 2 vibe from the way the series ended. And what I mean by that is, if you watch Farscape in the season, halfway through season 1, John Crichton, the main character, was split into 2.
That sounds uncomfortable.
It was not great.
No,
it was not great, and it was actually painful, and I love that they showed that.
I would hope so. That would be painful. It's like a horrible cramp.
But 10 times worse.
10 times worse, because it's like...
And those two Crichtons had the same life experiences up until that point. and then one moved to Talon, which is the other ship, and the other one stayed on the main ship, Moya.
I like Moya.
Moya was the mother of Talon because they were living ships.
Oh.
So she had a baby, and
She had a baby.
She had a baby gunship.
She had a baby gunship.
You gotta watch the show. It makes sense in context.
I
I'm just gonna drink and nod my head.
because I don't know what's happening anymore.
Suffice to say, because those two characters, and Ben Browder never gets enough credit for the amazing acting he does as two men who are, it's the same person, but because they live two different lives on two different ships, they have completely different life experiences. I am getting that vibe for season 2 of Loki.
Okay.
I am getting that when our Loki, Prime Loki, meets up again with B and Mobius from the Prime timeline, he might not want to come back. Because the Mobius and the B that he's met in the current timeline only know him as who he is. Yeah. They're not prejudging him on shit that happened before because they have no idea who he is.
They're like, judging him on
they
don't know
who
he's a Loki variant.
He is now.
Yeah.
They think he's an analyst. They think he works for them. Like they think he's just a co-worker that they just never met because there's so many.
Yeah, and I think that will be very interesting.
Where do you belong?
That and bear in mind that they filmed, and people keep saying the role Loki was renewed for season 2. I'm like, technically it was renewed for season 3 because they filmed 12 episodes.
This was just the first
6 episodes of the 12 that they filmed.
This is the first
did
show
they
where
I didn't know that.
No, this is the first one where they're like, you will see Loki again.
Yeah.
Because that's what they would do in the MCU. So like, you will see this again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at some point.
But I didn't know that they
so lovely because it was nice.
They're filming season 3 now. So, said all that to say, I wonder, you're fine. I just wonder how they're going to, what do you guys think the relationship dynamics are going to be before we jump on to how the show looks and season 2 and the things, how the show looks and the things we didn't like. But what do you think the relationship, do you think Loki's going to wind up wanting to stay with his new Mobius and his new B, who only judge him on his actions now and not prejudge? Or do you think he'll go back to the main timeline?
So I think it will be inevitable that Loki will wind up in the main timeline once again.
But will he want to be?
I think it's going to be a forced upon because of whoever they are battling.
Yeah. Go ahead. I have a thought. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you don't know why I'm saying it this way, it's because once upon a time there is a crossover with not just Kang, but with the X-Men and Star Trek.
Yep. I know.
So there is a reason why I keep saying Kang and not Kong. So.
Yep. I know it.
It's not just
we're such nerds.
I
know exactly what you're talking about.
But I'm sure there's people that are like, does she have like? I mean, I do have issues, but this is because I'm trying to be funny and it doesn't always land well. So, I'm also sorry I broke Belle, which sometimes happens.
It happens. I feel like Ron is used to that.
I feel like Ron is.
I wish I could see Ron's face right now.
We need a Ron cam.
We need a Ron cam during drug review. We absolutely do.
I just see you looking off camera like, if I could see Ron's face right now.
No, you don't.
It's everything you think it is and more.
So, oh my God, Mary, if you could see his shirt, it's right up your alley.
So, Mary, what do you think?
In terms of whether him wanting to stay with the new Mobius and B, or going back to the ones that he knows, I think it might be tempting for him to stay with the ones who have no prejudgments and have no concept of who he is and the things that he has done. I think that might be very tempting, but I think ultimately he'll want to get back to the people who know him. Because I think if he's with people who don't have any misconceptions of him, he might be tempted to fall back and lie and build up this image. Because he even says he's a narcissist, which I think is a bit extreme in some respects.
I don't think it's true. I think he thinks it's true.
Yeah, he was plugged.
I think he was told that that's what he was.
Yeah.
Like, I think in some respects he can exhibit narcissistic behavior, but I don't think he is at all a narcissist. I think that's just a gross oversimplification of the character.
I want to touch on that real quick, what you just said, because that's a very important point. But go ahead, Aunt Mary.
But like, I think that if he stays with people who don't actually know him, he might fall back into old habits and he might present himself in a way, but then when he gets caught in a lie, he gets himself in trouble. Like, I feel like that's something that could happen. So I think while he would be tempted to stay, he'll want to go back to the people who actually know him. And even though they had those misconceptions and they judged him at first, they know who he really is now and they care about him.
Yeah.
And he'll want to help all of them, because I think his goal now is to
save everyone.
Yeah. Save everyone. He knows that something horrible is going to happen. He wants to save everyone. He even told Sylvie, it's like, you're all about free will, but what about all of these innocent people across the multiverse that you're going to subject this to?
Yeah.
He's
like without any thought to them. So I think he will want to go back to the people who know him best.
Yeah.
And help them while also helping everybody else.
What I was going to say is the thing which you just said, and we do have to move on because we want to talk about both the cinematography and then that big ass reveal at the final episode. But the gaslighting, Loki, and it was very interesting. One of the things that happened in episode 5 that broke, when I tell you guys that it hit me harder on second watch than it did the first time, when Kid Loki was like, and anytime you try to be better, they send you here.
Yes.
And like that Loki, that Sylvie Loki's Nexus event was her wanting to be a Valkyrie.
I don't think we know that for sure though, because Ravonna wouldn't tell her. I think it was that she wanted to be she wanted to protect Asgard. She wanted to be a Valkyrie. And so literally the first thing we see when they bring her in the TVA is not her trying to save herself, but trying to save someone else. Help him. That's the first thing she says when she comes into the TVA. Yeah.
TVA is putting people in their places, literally and figuratively.
And that goes to the fact that he who remains basically manipulated events to get Loki and Sylvie where he was for one, because he was like, I'm gonna win no matter. And I was saying this, if anybody watches, has anybody watched Gargoyles other than me?
What is it?
Mary, you were too young. You were a baby.
I know.
I did watch Gargoyles, but it was, again, forever ago.
Shut up!
No, you watched it.
You young ass bitch.
And then
shut up.
I loved it. I was
there. You go. That's all
you need to say. Anyway.
I had the action figure.
I'm so old. I hate it.
We're like, yeah, that's it. You saw it, and we don't need a timeline that you were in. This is not a variant. Like, you were there at the point that you watched it. It might have been not on VHS.
You were 4 or some shit, but whatever.
The reason I say forever goes because, like, I saw it when I was a kid when it was, like, first airing, and I watched the rerun, but I haven't watched it since.
We were fucking teenagers.
But it is on Disney Plus, and I need
Why does she not stop talking? We keep telling you to stop talking.
I love you, though.
Anyway.
I love you, though. You're so young.
We love you. You're so young.
I know. I'm the baby. I'm sorry. I'm the tater tot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just going to suck your youth out. Anyway, but the gambit of...
Gambit, yay.
Focus.
Sorry. I can't let you say gambit.
I know. Kang always was going to win. He manipulated... And as I said to Ron earlier, it's what Heaven and Hell did to Dean and Sam. It's a choice, but it's not a choice. If anybody who watched Supernatural, Heaven and Hell manipulated their entire lives to make them the perfect vessels for Michael and Lucifer. So, yeah, we're giving you a choice, but it's not really a fucking choice. He manipulated everything so that Loki and Sylvie would take his place or kill him. It's not a fucking choice if you manipulated everything that happens to make me this person. But it also shows how fucking terrifying he is, because the one we saw on the show, which we're going to get into now, was the nice one.
He was the
Yeah.
nice one. I was like, shit. Hey, hold on. He's one of the nice ones.
Yeah.
Because there are other versions of him where he's kind of a heroine kind of character.
Yeah.
But he's still
Like
one
you
of
said,
the
they work
nice
together. There were some
ones.
peace, but not all of them.
To see all of them. And
Yay.
And they're not that nice.
No.
And that's why people are like, oh my god, Thanos. I'm like, oh
Honey, Thanos ain't nothing.
Take
Like it ain't nothing. All right, so we're gonna come back and we're gonna wrap this up with Kang and what this means for the MCU going forward. We love you guys. This is Belle.
This is Allie.
That's
Mary.
and
Star.
we love you guys. We will be back with part 3 of our Loki breakdown deep dive for drunk review. We also have to refill our drinks because we are not done.